this need to happen in here. And maybe this. And maybe this. Right? But it's also looking for when they leave the map. And that, like, what? Create lobby ghost entity is checking to see if they left the map. Right? So when we do this, we have to look at what's calling it, right? Which is lobby member data change. So when somebody joins your map, they actually just change their metadata to be the same map name as you. Problem becomes if they already exist in, you know, in the entity list and they change their map, they should be removed. So maybe this function needs to kind of pull everything out. Because we sort of do that, right? The main thing is that we have appearance also stored as a string, and then we have your spectate state, so who you're spectating, and then also, what is this doing? Oh, it is spec. I might be able to condense down to one spectate thing. So what I'm trying to figure out is when you're not on the same map, should we care about who's spectating? Because it really doesn't matter. You're on your own map. The problem now is when you join that map with other people that are spectating somebody, the game doesn't fucking know. For some reason, it doesn't know everyone who's spectating. It gets a good idea, but it's not always 100%. There's always a person or more missing from the spec list. We could build the spec list dynamically, but knowing when it changes is more important. If somebody changes spectating state, that's when we want to do it, but to fire off an update that parses everything every single time is not, I don't want to go that route. I just want to listen, right? You join in, you join a lobby that's, okay, so there's two scenarios, right? You create a lobby or you join a lobby in session. Either way, you enter a lobby. There can be, if you join one in session, there's other people already there. Now, it depends if you're already on the map. If you join while on the map, it properly adds everybody as a spec. For some reason, it works. But when you join from the menu, it doesn't add everybody as a ghost entity, right? Because they aren't on the same map. Where's this guy? Create lobby ghost entities, which is actually called a couple of times. So when you change map to a valid map, it calls it, right? So you join from the menu, and then you join their map, and it calls this, right? And it goes through and it does actually try to create all of the lobby member entities for the people that are on your map. Because we checked that, right? If you're in the same map and they don't already exist, we create them. We set a bunch of data based off of their metadata that we download. Keep track of them. Start updating if we need to. And write out some messages. Like, hey, somebody, you know, joined your map. This is C++. So now the question is, why doesn't it work when you join from the menu? Like, what is preventing it from fully updating properly? When you join a map, everybody's already on that map, right? Everybody that would be spectating that isn't in the list. That is our current problem. The spec list isn't complete. So when you join, and it calls this create lobby ghost entities, it goes through and creates all of the lobby ghost entities that it should for the people that are in your map. That makes sense. You join the same map as everybody that they're on. What's fucking stupid, though, is that we are, I guess, should it matter about this? Set is spectating. I don't like, isn't that, because if they have a spec target, then they're spectating. But also, I guess technically if you're roaming around in spectator, yeah, okay, never mind. So they do need to be two separate ones, because if you're just roaming around and spectator, then yeah. So get us spectating from member data. Set the spectate state. But is there a possibility where they don't have their spectate state set and that this is needed? But it would be weird because it's only a couple people and you've joined the lobby already, which means you have all of the metadata already. It should be there. It's lobby wide when you set lobby member metadata, right? So this should be valid, right? If you're spectating someone, you're watching someone with a bunch of other people, this should be set for you. You are spectating. And we set you to spectating. So in the mind of you spectating, I join your map. And now I'm creating all of this, right? I create your ghost and I spawn you, but I'm also getting your appearance, setting it, and then checking to see if you're spectating. So we create the ghosts at origin, right? To get Rio a key. He's doing some stuff with the multiplayer, I think. Anyway, yeah, so when we get your spectating state, we check to see if you are, because if you are, then we hide your ghost, right? We said that you're, we also destroy your explosives, but yeah, we hide your ghost, otherwise we unhide it, right, if you aren't spectating. And then we get your spec target, and we fire that as well. So there's a chance that maybe this doesn't fire, somehow. Because that's the other thing too, the packets of, hey, I'm changing spec state, or I changed target or whatever, don't matter if you're not in the lobby. Because if you join, so like you change target or whatever, you start spectating someone, and I join your lobby, you're not going to send me the packet. You're gonna, instead it's in the metadata, and I should parse that. And that's what this is doing. So this needs to work, but if it doesn't, that could probably be why. Problem is, we actually do get and parse it. I mean, there's a chance that maybe it is 0. Okay. Yeah, game dev is a whole different beast. It's really something. You get problems you never would have thought you would have to solve. But it's a fun time. You get some great insight. Studying how the source engine works is actually really fun. Like it's awful and fun. Terrible, terrific, terrible fun. Yeah, I mean, I can, we're gonna need to test. So, okay. Alright, I need gamers to help me test. First things first. I'm gonna, so for the lobby system, I'm gonna get rid of the fact that, these don't do anything anymore. They set spectate state. But honestly, even that I might be able to just comment out, because I want to kind of rely more on spectate state. So that means when the lobby member data is changed, and they changed spectating. Problem is this is still important, whether or not, so this needs to just be, hey, are we spectating? Let's get rid of this. They didn't really change their target, which is a little weird. I think we could probably store it in the ghost entity too, with who they're currently spectating. Spec target we could throw into the entity actually. Where does set spectate state come into play? Because we could probably pass the UNT 64 in. Oh wait, don't I already have that? No, we just have the bull. So then let's look at what the player actually sets, because there's set spectator target. And then that is whether or not we spectate, and then that's, yeah, that sends that packet. But what we end up doing, so if you type equals stop, right? So if you started spectating, you joined. But I mean, we could determine that on our end. Yo, what's up, Buffet? How you doing? We could determine that on our end. Like, yeah, this could just be done on our end. All you would need to do is this stuff. So we set the lobby data spec target. But what I'm actually curious about is spec. Set is spectating. What sets this? Oh boy. Start observer mode. Okay. Okay. Stop observer mode. Okay. My night's going well. We're gonna be playtesting really soon. Trying to see if we even need the shit that I have here. So set is spectating. Start observer mode. That goes through. Only if the lobby is valid, we set the lobby member data. A one or null pointer. Momentum's actually completely open source. Currently. If we get an engine license, we're gonna use GitHub. Yep, and we definitely appreciate all the help we can get. We have issues publicly documented, bugs and stuff to tackle. I'm basically code owner of the game and website repositories, trying to find somebody to take ownership of the documentation repo. I'd like to get that a little more autonomous. Hona's doing a great job with the Discord bot, so. Anyway. All right. Yeah, no, it's a lot to ask, and I'm not expecting anything. So we have this stuff. I mean, honestly, what I should really be looking at more here is what changed, right? So the member changed is important because it could be people, you know, that we don't really care for. So there's the problem is if there's a lobby member entity, that means they're on the same map as us. And if they're not, that means they most likely should be. So maybe instead of this, let me think this through. Because we care about what changed, right? If there's a specific lobby member entity, if the map changed itself, right? So what changed, right? That's what we need to see. So if we're not, then we want to remove them. Like, that's basically what we're doing here. The lobby member data changed. Oh, that's interesting. That's actually probably a bug. Yeah. Hold on. Constable BC. And we want to remove them. So let's go back up here. Create lobby ghost entity. Create lobby ghost entities. Remove lobby ghost entity. And I'm assuming I just want the pointer to the lobby ghost, right? Oh, on lobby member leave. Well, the other thing is, when we go through all of the people in the lobby, what do you mean about source license? So our game is on the Source Engine SDK. It's a publicly available code base released by Valve, but it's only the server, client, tools, DLLs. I think that's really it. Just there's like tools excluding Hammer. So like compiler tool, VRAD's there. Server and client DLLs, which isn't the full engine. So in order to get access to the full engine, you need an engine license. And right now, we don't know how easy that'll be to get, especially with Source 2 and all of that. So for the most part, we are on just the SDK as just an SDK game. But ideally, we can ask Valve for essentially a non-profit license of we want to use the engine and customize it to our liking, all the way down to like the launcher, right? You know, HL2.exe level. But in order to do that, you need an engine license, and it normally costs $35,000 because of Havoc and the other third-party libraries that the engine uses. Miles, telemetry, stuff from Rad Game Tools is deeply embedded in the engine. With Source 2, they remove that. Havoc is replaced by Rubicon, which is their in-house physics. Miles is replaced by Steam Audio. There's a lot of things like that have been replaced. Hammer, everything's built on Qt for the tools. So there's a lot of there's really nice work that's done there. The problem becomes we don't know if they're ever going to release an SDK for that. I think in their minds, they think the majority of people are just on other engines now, because people that, and this is pretty true, people that believe that they should make a game on Source will not get very far. It's just such an uphill battle for developing on Source. So the main reason you should stick with Source is either you have a mechanic that is Source based and it gives you all of that for free, or you just really want to make a Half-Life 2 mod, right? Like you just really like Half-Life 2 and want to make something for it or something, you know. I would not recommend Source in any other aspect. If you're trying to make like an indie game or something, just go with Godot or something. Just seriously, it's not worth the hassle, and you get much better support in other engines. This engine, it's fucking weird. It's so weird. Like, there's people that are really, really good, but they don't want to share anything except for photos. So there are mods that have come and gone that are really good code bases for things, for features and stuff that you can cherry pick. In fact, there have been so many different base SDK repos that have those cherry picked things in it. I mean, it's just so haphazard. And so it's like it's trying to add modern things. So like parallax corrected cube maps, for example, just a snippet of code like in our game. So it's like Momentum's just this giant cesspool of code all over the place, from all over the place. Never any, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's really cool, and you don't want to just give it away, but at the same time, it never gets used. And that's the most frustrating thing, is like there's these really cool work in progress shots of like really promising games or mods or something or whatever, and they never come out. And they never get open sourced, right? And so it's just a video, a guy that has clearly moved on, probably to a much better engine, or if at all. It's just so frustrating. And then you get the other half of the community that can be open about it, but there's like this weird elitism. I mean, it happens in probably every coding community, like with languages and stuff, but yeah, there's people that are like, you have to lick my asshole if you want me to tell you what this function does. And it's like, they don't literally say that, but it's like that's the tone. Maybe they're just shitty people. But usually, the shitty people are the ones that stick with the engine because it's all they care to know about, and they get really good in it, and then don't want to share it because they're assholes. Momentum Mod is open source for the time being. If we get an engine license, we can't be because the engine is NDA'd. If we get an engine license with the code base, it would have to be completely private. Any leaking of any code that we would get is like immediate suing grounds for Valve, and they will because it's source. It sucks though, because there's so much in this engine that we do not need. There are just things that we can just rip out and replace, and just it'll take time, but at the same time it's just so sad that we're just locked behind precompiled binaries with absolutely shitty ways of hacking them. Like we have to literally, we DLL inject in order to get the fucking tick rate, to change the fucking tick rate. Like that's the kind of shit we have to deal with. And like there's video options that I want to expose, like bordered window, like there's so much stuff that is also just left over in the engine from like all of the different mod teams adding their shit. Yeah, it's the movement and the existing communities. I like the fact that Surf and stuff feels like Source in Momentum. Like that's really appealing, and I believe it'll be extremely appealing to everybody else too, that are familiar with these modes. But at the same time, developing in this engine is so fucking painful. I've gotten as good as I am now from just literally reading a leaked version of the 2007 version of the engine. And obviously we can't use that code, right? But I know how things work now. And that's the only way I could have learned, right? If that wasn't there, I honestly doubt Momentum would be as far along as it is. I seriously doubt it. There's just so much shit that you can't Google it because it's NDA code. Nobody's going to be talking about it. It's an older engine. And then you can't find, like you have to use this leaked code because like the only thing you get is an interface, a public interface that the engine uses, right? You can't overwrite it. You can hack it. You can patch DLLs, right? Binary modification, reverse engineering, which is what we've had to do for a lot of this stuff. Just sucks. And it's like, okay, So how do you go about, like, what if you're really serious? Let's get an engine license. Who do you contact? I mean, there's a source engine at Valve Software. Nobody reads that. Who reads it? I don't even know who reads that. There's certain contacts at Valve. You have to ask other licensed games who they went to and how they did it. Yeah, Gaben's not going to help you. He's too busy figuring out brain interfacing to fucking deal about his own engine. It's frustrating. And like slowly and slowly all the Source 1 games are just going to lose support from people at Valve. You have CSS and TF2, right, that are the two main games left. The rest of the games like Left 4 Dead and all of them are on more modified versions of Source 1. It's like Source 1.5. CSGO is like is really Source 1.5 with like Source 2 aspects in it. They're porting it though, apparently. They're porting CSGO to Source 2 because they just want to get the fuck off this engine. Even though it's still technically the same spaghetti, I would assume. They didn't start from scratch. They did a lot of things from scratch, like all the tools, but those are tools. Like anyone can make a hammer. You know the BSP file format, it's documented. You just have to make a hammer. You have to make an editor. And then not only that, you can't edit, you can't raise limits. That's another thing we want engine license for, raising limits. Pushing BSP to its limit. Maybe even using like a modified version of BSP or something. It's no longer 2004. We don't have to have 16,000 as your coordinate limit. Like, stuff like that. It's frustrating. But at the same time, you get really kick-ass movement and like it is solid. There's a reason why Titanfall, the Respawn devs used Source. It's a solid engine. It can scale. Hey Zen. Yeah, you gotta get to the sub. Can you keep the engine code modification separate and just keep the rest open? That's what I would expect to happen, is if we can negotiate the fact that it's like we get an engine license and we can keep our code open and then just use like our code as submodules inside of our engine repo, right? And compile the engine repo. Can't raise the grid limit too much though. Yeah, I mean BSP is just an older format. VMap, Source 2's map format doesn't use BSP anymore. You can have holes in your geometry. Like there's so much that you can do now. Holes in your map. There's no leaks, right? Yeah, patching tier 0, right? To have that, what is it, thread count not be locked at 16? What was it, 16 or some really low number? Yeah. And it crashes because you have more than that. And it's like, because float inaccuracies make vertices warp. Shit. But I thought the value of a float goes up to like 8 billion or something. Isn't it like the first, or not 8 billion? I don't know. Source 1, yes, you can. And that's the thing. So here's the thing. If Source 2 releases, and please, dear God, let it be the full engine. Please. Because we fall into that same cycle of now we rely on Valve to patch things. And will Valve do it? Maybe. Just like they patched the SDK after 2014, right? Anyway. It's very, very rare, and it would just be beneficial to not have to rely on it. Source 2 uses Half-Life 2's movement by default. They ported it over as a test of like all of the stuff in Half-Life Alyx for non-VR stuff, because yeah, it'd be annoying to constantly have to test stuff in VR if it's just like engine-related stuff. So yeah, it's not a question of if we can port it. Obviously we can. If we have the right code access, we can add all of this movement and all of our code into the engine, or into the I guess the server DLL if they still have that. The main thing is going to be map porting. How can we move BSPs over to VMAP? Do we write tools for that, right? Because that would be really fun to get on, is what's the VMAP format? Can we port BSP to VMAP? I know the new Hammer can open VMFs, which is nice, but that means you have to decompile all of the BSPs. There are tons of BSPs that we support just out of the box in Momentum because we're SDK 2013. So all CSS, all TF2 maps we support. Obviously there are entities missing from them, so you have to patch them. And so we do that. We patch maps, we fix them up. And in that process you can decompile, but there's also just removing entities, right? It's just stripper stuff. You just modify the entity lump for the BSP, which is like you can write a Python script to do that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and like look at this fucking radiosity light bounces. I don't even know how much of this lighting is real time either. I think it's all baked here. Looks like you're getting 300 though. And yeah, maps are just all inside of VPKs now. Yeah, I think that's what Valve acknowledges too. The fact that there's, I mean, they shipped Half-Life Alyx, they got Dota 2 on it, they're gonna probably port CSGO, and that's where you get Hammer, right? But Half-Life Alyx also has Hammer. And then it's like, how far does Hammer go? Because there's people making mods for it, but is it mods in the sense of like a map pack with some like original entity or something? But like there's VScript too, like there's scripting, so you can do scripting from Hammer, but that's effectively writing a plugin. Like I don't want to do that. I wouldn't want to port Momentum if all we have is Hammer and we're at the mercy of Valve. If that is the case for Source 2, it's no dice. We're sticking with Source 1. We're going to try for a Source 1 license. Maybe they'll be more inclined to give us one. What my expectation is, if I reach out to the Valve contact I have and ask for a license, right now they will tell me wait for Source 2 because it's around the corner or whatever. Maybe that's the case. Maybe in a month or whatever, CSGO gets ported, they release an SDK, people can go ham, right? I swear to God, I hope they just release the engine. At this point, it's atrocious to have to work with this, and like, especially for the affordance that the other engines give you. Unreal, Unity, you can get fucking engine access off the bat. Godot, the entire engine's on GitHub. But they're in a tough position. And it's frustrating because like I actually really like this engine. It has a lot of really cool features and quirks. Quirks and features. Yeah. Okay. Right. Back to this. So the main problem with doing this in here... Okay, I guess my actually main problem that I have... why is this upset? Oh. The main problem I have with this is that this is doing too much. So, create... I mean, we could probably double check. I don't think double checking is too bad. So unlobby member data changed. I guess what I honestly want to do is check and see, because if you join a lobby from the menu, it's not going to iterate over. Well, it will iterate over everyone, but you won't be on the same map. Since everything is theirs now, is there any reason they don't release the engine? Personal? reasons. They don't want people to see the spaghetti code. They don't want to deal with upkeep. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows what people at Valve think about it? It'd be nice if they told us, like, what's going on. Like, I'm genuinely curious about the Source 2 SDK, because it will affect momentum if it comes out. If the Source 2 SDK, like the same SDK 2013 we have, comes out, we're gonna consider porting, even though we don't have engine. It's a giant consideration as well. We have to figure out. I mean, the main thing is gonna be how to port BSPs, because that's if we can get BSP parsing or porting at least done, we're golden. Because we can port all the maps, because we're constantly going through all the maps right now and porting. It's just a matter of time. I don't know. Yeah, maybe they're just waiting. They're waiting for the CS:GO port. Half-Life Alyx has matured. Their code base, they're probably pulling out all the hacks or whatever. I don't know what they're doing. And then they push it. Maybe that's the case.
Hacks!
I would like to do Source 2, though. It would be really nice to be on a more modern engine. Just in the sense of, like, mappers and stuff, right? Mappers having a better tool. Because, like, I have a prototype, like, Momentum Hammer on my GitHub repo, but I can't ship it with the game, and second of all, I'm not going to. It's just always going to be a third-party tool. It's just... Even Hammer, right? Even Hammer is like behind, like that's what's so mind-boggling. So many people that can just make these tools so much better, and they don't want to, like, if they have that fear of it, it's just I wouldn't understand it. I hope they're not scared of the community actually wanting to use it. It's people jumping the gun and trying to make mods, and then it's like you can only go so far. It's just Hammer, right? Like you're gonna need custom code eventually, and maybe it's just scripts will work. I don't fucking know, but I don't know. Yeah, Half-Life Alyx already has a no VR. You boot with -no VR, and it's like it's a launch parameter. Yeah, and it's like, I mean, the engine looks great, and what Zen linked up there with the Surf Beginner. I mean, we can watch it here if you guys want. Like, it looks great, right? Like this realistic lighting. I mean, a little too realistic, but like that bouncing off of this, it's awesome. It's all pre-baked. You have the same CL show pause too. Everything's a VPK. The collision is, I mean, this is modify air accelerate to 100. It's Half-Life 2 movement, so it's not necessarily CSS, but it still allows surfing, right? Look at that. Look at how the fucking light's bouncing off, and then the shadows casting over. It's so good. Just the lighting alone is just incredible. Look at the shadows on the ramp. Fucking amazing. Realistic looking lighting for maps, and it's just... You know, we can hope. We can only hope. So, we'll see. Alright, let's get back into this. I need to reimagine this. I need to rubber duck debug this a little more. Okay, so if you're in a lobby, what is important there is changing data. If you're in a lobby, if you're not in a lobby, but you join or either join a map or join so here, let's see. Create lobby ghost entity. This is not needed. So they just left the map, so we're gonna pull this out. Move this over to them actually leaving the map. Slept a solid 3 hours. Oh shit. Good luck on the Good luck on the getting the bus. Yeah, lack of sleep's no joke. I'm sorry if I caused that for people with like my shitty timing. It's just, yeah, I work until 6 basically. I tried to stream as early as possible today because it's Friday, but yeah. All right, so, oh man, so on lobby member leave. So they left, so we don't care. Yeah, we don't care about this then. Yeah, this goes here. And then I guess what we can do is invert. Yeah. Okay, so we inverted, and now we have, so if we have the entity itself, if we're on the same map, we update the entity. Essentially, that's what this is doing. So we go through, we update your appearance if it changed. This just goes through a change set. Spectate state, I mean, ooh, baby. Yeah, that's, hold on. We gotta see if it changes though. And that's the more important part. We don't want to keep destroying explosives. So every time you toggle on your flashlight, we destroy your explosives. That's not good. You need to fix that. So only if you are spectating. Yeah. You should go collapse in the bed. Yeah, that sounds nice. And then we only care about their spec target if they actually are spectating. So, okay, hold on. Maybe what we can do is update spectate state. So let's see. Void update spectate state. And then this is gonna be, will be is spec, and then UN64 spec target ID. And then what we'll do is we'll generate that. And now what we can do is check states, right? So one or the other, but not both. So if they're the same, this is false. One of them is different. It changed. Basically, also just, you know, doesn't equal. But anyway, I'll just do doesn't equal. It's clear. Oh, it's a song. Gotcha. Botnet's dumb. Don't worry about it. Okay, so that's the main thing, right? Because what we want to do is now go back to the lobby system and update the spectate state. So we can get rid of this. I mean, these can be, that can be public. This could be like a private. And this could actually probably be like set as spectating. So yeah, if enable, yeah. So if the state changed, then we set is spectating, he is spec, right? And then that changes that. And now if we are spectating, also resharper updated. Holy shit, they show types now. You guys don't see it because I'm doing window capture. But if that's the case, then we set the target. Well, actually, I don't know. I guess if we are spectating, only if the state changed. By default, you aren't spectating. I think that's defined up here. Yeah. By default, you aren't spectating. Got 2 spectate states. Yeah, okay. What's up, Blazer? How you doing? Yeah, it's the same thing here. So I think with here, this is looking very familiar, but anyway. Update player spectate and update spectate state. Get is spectating. And then get spectating target from okay, so we update the spec state there. Yeah, it's looking really familiar to this. So that's probably going to need to be pulled out into its own function. This is C++. What's interesting is that write spec message doesn't actually have to be here. It has to for send spec. Okay, that's gonna go away. That's commented out. And then the only, yeah. Okay, so this can actually move to the online ghost. Probably. Which is convenient. Because, yeah, the rest of this is just passed into it. So then we go back to the online ghost. And this is where it's interesting. So if things changed, we send specific messages based on it. So for example, when someone starts to spectate, which if we go back to the lobby system, we can find here. Like there's these different spec updates, and these are usually sent as packets, but it doesn't have to, right? So if you start spectating, that means you weren't spectating and now you suddenly are. If you are spectating, so you haven't started spectating, but the ghost target isn't valid, or oh wait, the ghost target isn't valid and the ghost target, wait, what? Oh, it gets set to 0 basically, I assume. That's what this is checking. And whether or not you, I guess, stopped spectating. Spec update, leave spec update stop. This player has left the map / lobby. Stopped spectating and respawn. Real difference between them. And then otherwise, you haven't started spectating. You didn't change target to an invalid one. That means you just changed who you're spectating. And then what we would do there is we set your spec target. Either if you're stopping or leaving, we set it to null and clear it. Or we set it to the actual Steam ID that you're spectating. So this stuff is still needed. This is not. Yeah. So same thing here. Exact same thing here. We have to do this fucking shit because apparently you can set lobby type, but Valve doesn't expose the lobby type through this interface. You can set it. Now that's interesting. You can actually prevent people from joining your lobby altogether. And then there's also a concept of like invisible lobbies. So you can actually be in one main lobby, right? The lobby that we host, and then there can be invisible lobbies. And like invisible lobbies are like, I think they describe it. What is it? Set lobby type. Yeah. KE lobby type invisible. And then invisible returned by search but not visible to other friends. Useful if you want a user in 2 lobbies. For example, matching groups together. A user can only be in 1 regular lobby and up to 2 invisible ones. So like if you're matchmaking, for example, it'd be an invisible lobby until the match is found, and then the player accepts, and then you leave the other one. The lobby is then invisible, converted into a public one, stuff like that. But yeah, we're not doing that, at least not yet. Wait, why do we only check Steam user? We need Steam matchmaking in here too. Probably, yeah, same thing. Okie doke. So yeah, we don't send the packet anymore, but I'm gonna remove this to-do. I don't know what that was actually explaining. So yeah, update spectate state. All right, so the other thing we need is a uint64 m spec target a. And then inside the header, we're gonna initialize this to 0, or the constructor, we're gonna initialize this to 0. Yeah, wow, this resharper update looks really nice. And now what we can do is, oh yeah, set as spectating is set separately. Yeah, this is what we want. So, okay. Alright, let's understand what exactly is happening here. Because we have spec states, right? So we need to update these spec states. And so there's join, which means you started. And honestly, I might just want to factor this to started. Do it. I believe in you. Yes to all. Yeah. What I'm talking about. Started. Oh wait. Spec update started. Spec update stopped. Yes. Is no expecting somebody false. Okay. So these are the main ones that we need to keep track of, right? And so the problem becomes if you don't really send a spec update leave. Spec update leave is kind of just deduced. In fact, I think it's in HUD chat. Let me go there. Yeah, so spectate stop. Right, you respawn. Started, you started spectating or watching a replay. And then you change target. And so leave is interesting. It's not used here. I wonder where it would be used then. Only here. And then if you are leaving, so yeah, I'll leave it here because maybe it's useful here. We just don't want to send the update packet anymore. No, I'm not the only person writing code for Momentum. I'm the longest standing code writer for Momentum. I've been with the project since its birth in 2014, but there's definitely been a ton of other people that have helped. It's not just me. Okay, updating spectate state. This is important because now we need to be able to submit all of these states, right? Where's the, it was shared defs, I think? Can I have it open? Oh, it is. Okay, so barring leave, we need to be able to send, where's online goes? Right here. Barring leave, we need to be able to send all these states. So they started, they changed target, they stopped, and they left. Change target's really easy. Okay, so if the state changed, we need to know how it changed, right? At the end of it, we will set it, but what we need to do is if MB spectating, right? So if they aren't spectating, and now they are, right? It should change to be is spec. They now have started spectating. And we're gonna go in the lobby system. We're gonna basically just yoink this. Actually, no, I'm not feeling this either. Grab it. Alright. so the ghost is gonna need this to. What did I just copy? Right spec message.
So how's it feel? How's it feel? So how's it feel? How's it feel? You can catch a vibe that makes you feel alive, or a vision that you can't see. When you open wide and take it all inside, it controls you every time you speak. Shut up. Everything is great.
Both. Mainly self-taught. School only refined my abilities. I mostly taught myself how to code.
Don't forget your name, you'll lose it if you play. Information overload. So how's it feel? How's it feel? So how's it feel? How's it feel? Yeah, oh, I'm looking at your life, man, it sure looks nice, but do you have a filtered soul? I guess we'll never know in this overload. So how's it feel? How's it feel? So how's it feel? How's it feel?
I guess right here we could do be target change. Equals M spec targeting spec targeting. And then if the target change. Yeah, school doesn't have the time to. I mean, it can. You can always study a topic in like depth, right? But yeah, it's always gonna be limited. You're always, you know, as slow as the slowest kid in class. That too. There's always, yeah. It kind of sucks, but self-teaching, you can go at the pace you want. You just have to be motivated to do it. Recruited to commentate a disc FF dodgeball tournament. Shit. Hey, what's up, Bray? Yeah, Stack Overflow is helpful. For the most part. Sometimes you find the people that are just like, you should use Boost. Thanks. No. And then like it's all the way at the bottom. It's like, here's how to do it with the standard library, like standard C++. Cool. Boost is fine-tuned. You should just use Boost. Just make sure to scroll. So now the problem becomes if they right, I guess it's okay. So spec target ID equals spec target ID, right? So we do change it regardless, right? But we check to see whether it changed. So let's see. So if the state didn't change, then all we care about is change target, right? Else if the target changed, we do write spec message, spec update, change target. Okay, yeah, we could probably get rid of this function, but spec. Okay, make a network bar. That's not what I meant to type. Alright, so if the state changed, we started, and now our spec target is here. So then else if we are spectating, and now we don't want to, Jesus, and we stopped. Yeah, I'll have to refactor that, and then ghost ID is going to be 0. So we stopped. And then leaving, I don't think we really care about anymore. Yeah, yep. That's what I meant. Saw my Half-Life 2 stream earlier. Same stream. No. Yeah, yeah, it was fun. I just have to limit myself to the amount of runs I do in a day to being like 2. Good night, SPO. Thanks for the sub again. The fuck is Boost? It's a library for C++. It adds a bunch of stuff. Way too much stuff, actually. So recommending as a blanket solution to use a library in response to a specific problem is the worst advice you could give. Unless the question is, what library can I use? But when it's like, hey, how do I parse a string backwards? You don't go like, hey, use boost string dot to like reverse. Like, no. Just answer the fucking question. Like, that's what, it's frustrating. I haven't really run into that recently. Luckily. I'm allergic to bullshit. Anyway, luckily, Source Engine doesn't have a lot of Stack Overflow kind of shit. Fuck. Ooh. Oh, yeah, okay, that's right. Oh, that's not good. UID? Yeah, UID will be... This is grouping. Drum patterns really fun. I guess this only needs to happen if the target changed. You can save on an assignment. Regex. Regular expressions. Use this cool regex that I'm not gonna explain what it does, so good fucking luck. Luckily there's sites that can explain regex, like a string that you get. Regexer. Let me hold on. Get that for all the nerds in chat. Yeah, really, really helpful. Alright, yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, update spectate state actually goes through and updates the state based off of this. So if you're not spectating and you now should be, you started. And if you are spectating and now you shouldn't be, you stopped. And it sets that, and inside of here we set that state, but we also do some extra things based on the new state, so that's why that's its own function. Otherwise, if you changed your target, so you are spectating and you stay spectating, or you aren't spectating, and I guess you can't really update target if you aren't spectating, so whatever. The main thing is that, I guess, I mean, we could probably even enforce it here with, like, you know, right? Anyway, oh wait, that actually, no, yeah, never mind, because if you stop, it will update your target as well. But then there's also the chance that, like, you know, you're spectating someone and then you go free roam. That's changing target. I actually don't know if we handle that. Alright, back to the lobby system. We can now get rid of this. You can also eventually get rid of this, but I'm going to comment it out for them. Alright, and then we go through here. This no longer happens here. This doesn't need to happen here. This stuff doesn't need to happen here. This is very similar to this. Okay, so now if you don't have a lobby entity, you come here, and then if they are in the same map, we do a double check, even though we very much so confirmed that already up here, but doesn't matter. Yeah, this stuff needs to be pulled out. And then, yeah, we do this. Yeah. Yeah, regex searching is really nice, though. Because you can find, like... You can, like, cut out sections of, like, you know, there's, like, the same string up to a point, and then the rest of it's the same. You can, like, group... It's really nice. It can get really nice. You just have to really know what you're doing with it. So, yeah, this probably... This is entity stuff, but this is a lobby string, and we get the appearance data here. See, very, very similar code. But it would have to take a pointer. I mean, it would have to take a pointer to the entity. Fuck. Alright, fine. I'm going to update lobby entity. Ghost entity. Entity. From data, I guess? From member data? Yeah. Okay, good rename refactoring. Generate implementation. And so it's gonna be that. So update lobby entity from member data. Entity, and so now we just get, because it's tied, we already know their Steam ID from here, so const auto Steam ID of see Steam ID, oops. Of p entity get Steam get server class. All right, Steam ID get Steam ID. Steam. Okay. Beneficial. Much cleaner code. And it's like right on spawn, but yeah. Exact same code. Boom! Gone. See ya. Alright. And then another thing too is we could have some sort of static init function here. Like a create. Is there a create function already? No. We could have a static create function that does... Well, we'd have to pass this in, which is annoying. I don't know. This is a little more clear as to what's happening. And it's not like this is duplicated. This is all in one spot. And it's fitting. It's create lobby ghost entity. Honestly, ghost entity. Whatever. Alright. Cool. Now we go back up to our code. On lobby member data changed. If you are on this... Okay, so same map. We fetch it out here first. Alright, gamers, are you ready to help? I'm gonna go and build really quick and make sure that this shit builds. Probably doesn't. Why is it building game UI? What did I change in game UI? Oh, shared devs, I think. Oh yeah, because yeah. Oh, okay, compiled. Cool. Alright, gamers. I need quite a bit of you, actually. Because there's apparently a bug. The bug shows itself when there's more than one. Okie doke. Oh, I might still want to send. I might, yeah, hold on. Just so that you guys aren't completely broken. Still want to send it. I just, on my end, I'm not handling yours because I'm doing it all through member data, which is hopefully much more efficient because we're already set
Hi. Good stream. Bye.